Hi, and thank you all for joining us today. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Hi, and hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as you just heard, you are listening to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, where you can hopefully discover your truth. Today, we're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Please be sure to join us in one of our various chat rooms and connect with our guests today. We are streaming live, of course. You'll find us on many social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on. So please be sure, head on over to YouTube and subscribe. It really helps us out a lot when you do that. Today, we're so excited because we're going to be talking to Mark Christopher Lee again. I've had the pleasure to interview him in the past, at least 2 times. He's a great authority on UFOs, a ufologist. And he recently released a movie called God versus Aliens. And today we're going to be talking about that documentary and ask the relevant questions pertaining to it, especially, are aliens a part of God's creation or not? And look at how other religions look at this topic as well. So I'm going to introduce Mark, and I'm going to let him talk about himself. Hey, Mark, how are you, dear?
Hi, Caroline. Thank you for having me back on. And yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
Of course, we're so excited to have you on our new platform. Of course, we're going to get to your documentary, which will be the crux of what we speak about. But I want to let folks hear about your background, especially your music background, since it's such a big part of your life, and you're very kind of famous for the work that you've done in it. And I'm going to remove myself for a minute or two and let you have that.
Sure, yeah. Boy, I've been a musician for 30 odd years, mostly in a band called the Pocket Gods, and basically an indie pop band from the UK. There was a famous BBC DJ called John Peel who discovered us. But our claim to fame is that we started campaigning for fair royalties from the likes of Spotify for music streaming, because we got paid so little. So we did a campaign of just writing 30-second songs, because that's when Spotify pays out a royalty. So why write longer songs as it's so small? So, and then we did an album with 1,000 songs on, 30 seconds long, which got the Guinness World Record for most songs on an album, which is quite mad. And we've done about 76 albums now, and about, I don't know, 6,000 songs or something crazy like that. It all used to be on Spotify, but because they're not paying us, I've taken all the stuff off. But it's on other platforms, and there's a CD, vinyls out there to buy, including our £1 million album. We released one album for £1 million, which is on sale in our local record shop in St Albans. And the idea being, if someone buys it, we'll set up our own fair pay streaming service to rival Spotify. Well, kind of. Anyway, so that's where I come from. And then I started making films, mostly to tell the story of my band. There's one called Inspired, the 30-second song movie. It's on YouTube Movies. But then I thought I'm going to start making films about my passion, which is UFOs and the paranormal. And trying to investigate about what it's all about. And that's what my films have been about, really, and including this one, God versus Aliens, which is out on Tubi in the US. So please check it out. It's a passion of mine. And I've got lots more films coming. Is that enough, Caroline?
Thank you so much. I wanted to we'll get to it. I want to show a little clip of your movie. Of course, I watched it. I watched it 2 times. There was a lot of very profound information in there. made you think a lot about, and it's a big topic right now too, especially because the Vatican has made some comments about if indeed there are aliens, that they would be treated with love and considered God's creatures and stuff like that. Before we get into that, now I've watched your other documentaries too, and they're all excellent. I will have the link is running across the screen, as well as it will be in the description of this video on YouTube. So you'll definitely be able to find it there. But what prompted you to create God versus Aliens? Like, what was the driving force for you to delve into this branch of ufology?
Yeah, I mean, mostly because what was going on really with regards to disclosure, more so in the US and the UK, that we're getting very close to some sort of either disclosure or first contact. Something big is going to happen very, very soon. And I was just, looking at, being a Christian myself, I was looking at what implications does that have for Christians and for other, religious people. How does it impact on their faith? The fact that we will no longer be the only intelligent life in the universe. Are there, spiritual aspects to it? What would we do, and what would the church do, and the various, the Jewish faith, the Islamic faith, how would they react? So that was the idea behind the film, but then also pushing it a bit further in terms of, the paranormal possibly aspect of UFOs, and also looking at maybe we've already been visited before, and there's lots of alien UFO references in the Bible and the Old Testament and the Torah and even the Quran. So maybe it's not something new. Maybe God is has created life in the universe everywhere, and it's been visiting us. And there's so much to talk about in the film, and it was difficult to make because I wanted to get it just over an hour or so. I didn't want to be too long, and I wanted to get it balanced as well, because coming from a Christian perspective, I also wanted to be open-minded. And we spoke to Seth Shostak, who's the director of SETI, and get his take on it. And for instance, he doesn't think there's any evidence that we've been visited at all. So I kind of wanted to get the balance in there rather than just be my kind of diatribe of what I believe. I wanted to get other people's viewpoints on there. So that was the idea behind it. And I think it works. And just let me know if you do watch it. Let me know what you think, because it's an ongoing thing, and I intend to do a follow-up to it as well, because I've obtained more information, spoke to more people, and it's constantly changing. So yeah, thank you.
Has it changed your perspectives on your own religious beliefs or spirituality? Like, after you did all this research?
Not particularly on mine, because I always had that open mind. I've always been open to the fact that if God created the universe, He created everything in it, including intelligent life. So it's all falls under His domain, whatever God is. So I never saw an issue with it, really. And because I'd already seen various passages in the Bible, and even the New Testament, and Jesus and His powers, and just think there's something to that, something more to that than just what is the Son of God? I mean, by definition, Jesus is by the virgin birth and the Star of Bethlehem. There's something kind of extraterrestrial anyway about the whole story anyway, and the Magi. It's so I've always had that belief that there's more to it than just this is the Bible, this is the Word of God, and so I've always had that open mind.
Yeah, that's good. I think most people that are into ufology feel that it's not. I mean, they have a lot of commentary that it would dramatically change and impact us globally, like if disclosure to be, but a lot of people that are already into this and believe in their existence, I don't think it would dramatically impact them.
Sure. I mean, I do think it would impact ordinary people to some extent.
Yeah.
I think the church you know, all the main religions, I would say, they're all prepared for it. That's what I found out. It's not like a big shock anymore. And I've just been recently speaking to an Islamic scholar, an imam, and he's very open-minded to, you know, the fact that, yeah, there's going to be alien life. Probably see it soon. It's all part of God's creation. So I think, you know, the world's main religions, you know, are behind it. I mean, whether that's because they know it's going to happen, they've got to get a plan to, because they don't want to lose their power and authority. Maybe that's part of it as well. And there's, you know, there's no kind of stopping it now. But I mean, you know, look at the Hindu faith, the Buddhist faith; they've always been open to it anyway. So I just, you know, it's part of my kind of my belief system that there's more to life than just physical reality, and that's what I truly believe. And I think UFOs, there's more to UFOs than physical reality. There's something otherworldly, paranormal, something else about, and people who have these experiences with them, they are like religious experiences. So I think there is a big connection between UFOs and religion.
Yeah, some ufologists believe that it would create like a worldwide panic. Who knows? Maybe they would start setting things on fire and acting crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys have just had that New Jersey kind of panic thing going on, which kind of showed you that it's going to have some effects. I mean, that maybe that was just a big psyops operation by,
could have been,
you know, just to see what the reaction would be, whether people are ready for it. So
I don't like the way they handled that whole thing. You know, it went on for weeks, and then finally the government in the United States made a statement that it was all overseen by the U.S. government. So no, and it was like this blanket statement, and then everybody is just supposed to be okay with that. You know, that's like a bunch of hogwash to me. But and I know a lot of people were not happy with that blanket answer, but they do the same thing, Mark, with disclosure. You know, it does the same thing. They come out with these very bland, non-meaningful statements. First, they say that there could possibly be life, you know, in other galaxies, and then they come out and say no. It's like a contradictory thing with them. But a lot of ufologists think that if disclosure happens and they do make an appearance, our AI brothers, whatever you want to call them, that it would create a very big sense of panic. Now, maybe not so much in countries like India, where they're already very spiritual, but more like in the Western kind of vibe, you know, those people might.
I mean, it is, if we did have some sort of visitation, it's a big event. I mean, yeah, the panic would be, you know, who would take charge? You know, who would be our representatives for Earth to meet whoever? You know, that's the issue you've got, because we're at war with each other.
Yeah.
You know, and how would you choose who? Because obviously you'd probably go by the three biggest superpowers, if you want to call them. You know, America, China, and Russia. Is that fair? You know, should it be the United Nations? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, who would it be? I proposed King Charles in my last film, just because it's slightly apolitical, but it's got a bit of authority, and yeah, who knows? But ufologists think it would cause panic and people wouldn't be able to cope with it. But yeah, I'm not so sure, to be honest, because, you know, the public has been primed for a long time through popular culture.
Right.
So I think they could handle, if disclosure was there are physical aliens, they've been visiting us occasionally from other planets, physical craft, they're quite friendly, they come and go. I think we could handle that. Thing we couldn't handle is, well, firstly, if they were their intention was, you know, harmful, then that creates a situation. But also, what I think, if the reality is that it's not so simple, ET's not just physical. There's something otherworldly, interdimensional, whatever, something woo-woo about it that's not definable. That's why we can't get disclosure, because they can't go to the public and say, well, there's something here. We don't know what it is. It pops in and out of existence. You know, how can you explain that? It just freak people out.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they know a lot more. The governments of the globe, they know a lot more than what they're telling us. But, you know, I personally don't think there'll be, you know, mayhem in the streets. I mean, with the drone thing, people were pretty accepting of it. And a lot of people didn't care. They have their own problems. They need to pay bills and go to work. So like a lot of people had a very nonchalant attitude about it. But I think if like a big UFOs just globally start appearing all over the place, we might think it's Project Bluebeam too, which is a possibility. I mean, everybody knows about that. And then on the lighter side of it, I've been seeing a lot of like meme videos of where they make an announcement that, you know, UFOs have landed and people get their suitcases and stand in front of their door like, I want to go too, you know, they want to leave the planet. So I don't think it would be as crazy as some predict. Who knows? I guess that remains to be seen. Now, you've had the pleasure of interviewing Harvard professor Avi Loeb, and he posits in your documentary that extraterrestrial intelligence might choose to interact directly with AI, which I found fascinating. I didn't really think about that concept. They would rather interact directly with AI on Earth rather than with humans. How do you envision this interaction unfolding, and what implications do you think it would have for humanity?
Yeah, that was a really interesting interview with Avi Loeb, who is, you know, is an amazing person. He's one of the few scientists that takes this very, very seriously.
Brilliant guy.
And he's out there searching for signs of extraterrestrial life in the oceans, and he's amazing. So he proposed this theory because it makes sense to me. If there's life, which we know there's going to be life, and I'll tell you about this later, but I've got proof that there is life, life on other planets. You know, if they send, you know, but it's going to be far away. You know, you're talking a lot of light years away. It's going to take a long time to get here. So it makes sense for them to send a machine, AI, probes, people, whatever you want to call them, rather than biological entities. So it's more likely they were being visited by this. That's probably what the greys look like, greys, because they're not biological as such. They are AI, they are machines. So, you know, he proposed the nightmare scenario that, you know, we're being visited by this AI intelligence, and it's going to form a kinship with our AI rather than us, because it's got more in common.
Yeah.
So, you know, what that leads to is like their AI communicating with our AI and making up some sort of plan to work together to get rid of humans. Who knows? For an full-scale invasion, possibly. I don't know. I mean, it's a bit of a nightmare scenario, and just shows you the dangers of, you know, of AI and its evolution. But at the end of the day, I don't think AI will ever have soul or consciousness like we have, which is the great mystery of life. You know, no machine is ever going to be able to have that divine spark, which I believe we all have as humans. So you know, there are spiritual implications there, which is why I included in the film. You know, AI doesn't have a soul. Likewise, alien AI wouldn't have a soul as such. But, you know, aliens probably would, because, you know, if they're intelligent life in God's universe, then you have to assume that they have souls. So that sets up another interesting thread about, you know, like the Catholic Church was saying, you know, did Jesus die on the cross for just human souls? We came to this planet to save us. Has he been to other planets? Has God sent other Messiah type figures to other planets of intelligent life? And did, you know, that person then die on their planet as the Son of God to save their soul? You know, it's a bit it's a bit weird when you think about it.
When you think about it, I mean, and what if we're thinking about like sentient beings in a way that we understand consciousness and spirituality. What if AI is sentient and conscious, but in a different dimensional way that we can't perceive? I mean, you know, just because we have a certain understanding of our own spirituality, and I think we're very myopic about it. Like, what if AI does have a consciousness, but it's just different than what
Yeah, that's a really good point. But then if you're saying that, then you're saying it's possible to create soul, to create that consciousness out of nothing, really, because, you know, AI is basically evolved from machines, from matter, and somehow what's giving it that consciousness? Where is the divine spark? What's that, sorry?
Aren't we giving it that? Maybe
that's
maybe we're indirectly making it conscious, but just in a different dimensional aspect. I don't know.
No, that's a really good point.
It's very complicated. It's very
complicated. I think I'll go into that in the next film. That's a really good point. Yeah.
I think about these things, you know, when I'm sitting here by myself, trying to figure stuff out. Doesn't always work, but yeah, you know, I don't know. I try to be very open and understanding and not think that everything is demonic, and, you know, because we have that whole aspect too. So I think I might have asked you this during our last conversation, if you thought that ETs were demonic or angelic. And I know you touched upon that in your film as well, but let's reiterate, now that you've created this documentary, what's your take on that? Has anything changed for you?
Possibly. I mean, the more you get into this and start studying it, just the weirder it gets, and you're never completely sure of what is right, I guess. I mean, the whole demonic ETs thing came from this secret organization called the Collins Elite. It's in the film God vs. Aliens, and there's an author called Nick Redfern who investigated them and found that basically they were based in America at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and they took control of the Roswell craft and things like that. Anyway, they were convinced that, you know, ETs were demonic. They were Satan's minions and should be left well alone. And this Collins Elite still exists now. It's got members in Congress and in the defense industries. And this is why they don't want disclosure or to investigate UFOs, and which is why we probably won't get disclosure, because there's that element. And it's by evangelical Christians, a lot of them. You know, it can't open their mind to the fact that ETs could be intelligent life full of love, God's love elsewhere in the universe, as opposed to being Satan's kind of minions. They just see us black and white. If they're not, you know, off this world, then they must be evil, which I don't believe, to be honest. I don't believe. But I do think possibly that I've had this in-depth conversation with Reverend Daniel Thompson, who's also in the film, an English priest and friend of mine, actually. And we have these long chats about, you know, UFOs and aliens and the devil and things like that. But you know, there's no, because, you know, there's good and bad in our world. There's evil. There's good as evil. There's going to be good and evil in an alien world, most likely. If it's God's world, it's been created, there's going to be, you know, evil. There we go. There's a clip coming up.
Yeah, I wanted to just give folks a quick preview, if you don't mind.
That's great. Because it seems always great to me when God's world gets a little bigger, and when I get a somewhat more true view of my place and my smallness in that universe. And to achieve this by a growing awareness, which I do not find at all threatening as George Ward, a growing awareness that really sinks in that whatever the question of communication is, it is highly, highly probable that we are only one possible such civilization.
The ETs were not mechanical, they were not devices, they were not flying machines from other relatives or dimensions. They came from hell.
So we haven't found the aliens so far, but when are we going to find them, if ever? And I somewhat infamously have a bet to anybody who's interested that we will find ET, evidence for ET, by 2035, or I will buy that person a cup of coffee.
Our AI systems might try to imitate extraterrestrial AI systems because they would be far more advanced.
Could aliens actually be from another dimension?
So just wanted to review that for you folks. You could see it's very compelling documentary. You know, we had that demonic perspective where someone actually, let me just stop sharing. There's a lot going on with orbs, and they have me fascinated. And I know that you do a lot of work in studying them and trying to substance them as well. Now, in the Bible, there's an orb that's spoken about. I probably will pronounce the name wrong. It's called the Ophanim, or Ophanim. It's in the book of Ezekiel. And it's got center in the eye in the center. It's like this sphere, and it almost looks like a metal sphere on the outside, and an eye in the, and it's spoken about biblically. Now, when folks are recording these orbs, that's what they're seeing. I'm sure you've seen the footage of that. A lot of it looks very cylindrical. It's got that same type of angelic presence to it. What do you think about that whole connection between this orb mania and this angelic connection?
Yeah, I think there is a connection. That you mentioned Ezekiel. It was like described as a wheel within a wheel.
That's it.
Yeah. It was very, very strange. But that's the way Ezekiel interpreted this, whatever it was, this craft, this thing coming in. That was his interpretation of it at the time. And throughout Christianity, people, saints, Saint Teresa, she saw orbs like manifested. And then going up to, have you heard of the vision of Fatima in Portugal? It was these 3 peasant Catholic children in the early 1900s. And they say they saw the Virgin Mary made an appearance. Okay. But when you actually look at their, what they actually saw, their description, it was orbs. It was like a UFO, basically, what they saw. But at the time, because they were Catholics, and go to church every Sunday, they believed it was the Virgin Mary, and that's what the Catholic Church obviously took over the investigation. And then this, this vision they had of the Virgin Mary, which was probably orbs or a UFO, gave them a message, and these messages were written down and kept secret in the Vatican for a very, very long time. And I think 3 of the secrets have been released. There's one not been released, and apparently is some sort of apocalyptic message in the last one, which they will never release. So, but it goes to show that, religion has interpreted orbs, UFOs, as spiritual, as manifestations of God or the Virgin Mary or the jinn in Islamic faith.
Right.
And then you got the Jewish faith in the Zohar. There's loads of mentions of orb-like manifestations and things like that. So, religion has kind of put obviously a religious slant on these, but maybe we're dealing with something that's not necessarily religious, but is extraterrestrial. But then, at the end of the day, we don't know. But they've seen something, and I don't think it's just made up stories. It doesn't.
You had an angelic experience, right? Didn't you have?
Yeah. I mean, it's quite interesting. My experience, because recently there's a chap called Chris Bledsoe who's written a book about UFOs of God or something like that, quite similar to the film title. And he's into the psychic manifestation of UFOs. And that's why I heard of him through Jake Barber and all this thing that's going on. But he's had some sort of vision of this lady that appeared to him and gave him a message and things like that. And that just reminded me when I was a child, I had this face appear, this woman's face appear on the wall. At the time when I was 4 or 5, I thought it was an angel. You know, I had a kind of a religious upbringing, so that's my interpretation. I thought it was an angelic, and it kind of gave me a message. And then the next day, my life kind of changed for the worse. I won't go into the details, but for me, it was an angelic warning, a message. But you know, looking at it now, other people have seen this vision of this lady, this blue lady. I'm thinking maybe it's all connected. I don't know. Oh, yeah, it's interesting. I might have a look at it in the next film. But yeah, the orbs is interesting, and like you said, I've been looking into how to manifest, because people, I've interviewed people that say through the CE5, close encounters the fifth kind, through meditation, getting into the right meditative state, you can actually summon and call UFOs orbs. And obviously, I was a bit skeptical. I mean, you know, for your listeners, I do have a science degree, so I'm quite rational. So I don't it doesn't make sense to me. But then maybe there is a psychic element to it all. So I did try it out a few times and had various success. So there's definitely something to it. And we just tried it out recently at Rendlesham Forest, which is my new film. People don't know Rendlesham Forest is like the UK's Roswell, though, you know, the people that experienced it were American, actually, Air Force servicemen. In 1980, it was height of the Cold War. Some sort of craft allegedly came down and landed and scared the living daylights out of these American servicemen stationed at RAF Bentmore as part of NATO troops. And it's, you know, story's been ongoing since 1980. But my interest in it was that people have been back to this forest since and meditated and manifested a pyramidal UFO, orbs, rocks falling from the sky. These incredible people. I've seen photographs, I've seen videos. It's all in our new film. And so we went and tested it out ourselves, and we had some really weird stuff happen. So there's something to it. But how? But then that's why it makes me think there is some sort of otherworldly, paranormal, psychic element to the whole experience. It's not just physical craft from other planets. That's the only way I can make sense of it. But then I've been doing more research into this thing called the pineal gland in the brain. And that kind of acts as a transmitter and receiver, especially when you're in a deep meditative state. It heightens. So maybe that's the way they can connect, and we can connect. I don't know.
I 110% believe that the pineal gland is our third eye, so to speak. And I also believe that it's been intentionally, you know, I know there's a lot of people going to say conspiracy theory, but my personal belief that it's been intentionally calcified because of the fluoridation of our water systems. That's, been scientifically proven that it does cause calcification, because the governments globally do not want us to have intuitive abilities. They don't want us to connect spiritually with each other because it empowers us, in unity. And if you look at recent whistleblowers like Jake Barber, who I admire greatly, he proved that the governments are using psionics, which is telepathy. I mean, it's an actual program that governments are using. The decades of remote viewing that governments are using as well. So in the Bible, Jesus also said that we are capable of this and more. We are capable of miracles and more. I mean, Jesus even told us that. So I don't doubt at all that we can summon these angelic beings.
Sure, that makes sense. I mean, maybe that's why children are more open to this phenomena, because they haven't had that pineal gland kind of, well, they haven't had the whole spiritual aspects kicked out of them, I guess, as well.
Yeah, they're not spiritual either. You know, when you become an adult, you get very jaded and tainted. So, yeah, absolutely.
Become more material, don't you? I mean, there's a good point about the fluoridation. I wonder if, because you've got RFK Jr. now as health secretary, I think he wants to get, which could be a positive thing, because I've seen lots of reports about that. I mean, luckily where we are, we don't have that. I mean, we don't have fluoride in our toothpaste, but we don't have fluoride in our water. So, but the other thing, my business partner Guy is in the films as well. He says there's a link between Diet Coke and then there's a drug in diet drinks called phenylalanine or something that also represses the pineal gland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think our whole food pyramid and everything that I remember raising my kids and not having to worry about, I mean, my kids are grown, grown adults now, but I never thought or worried about red dye 40, red dye 3, buying cereal for them. I just think over the decades, it's become so prevalent where our food is it's not food anymore. It's just a chemical nightmare. And JFK hopefully will help do that. There are ways that I've read that you can decalcify your pineal gland. Okay. And it does take a lot of work. It involves meditation, certain dietary aspects too. I did an investigation to see if I could get fluoride out of the water in my home, and the system is like $6,000 to install, maybe more. So see, I think all of this stuff is very intentional. I think intentionally done, but I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting you say that, because people like David Icke, who people dismiss as a conspiracy theorist, and some of his stuff is a bit too far out for me, but he does have some interesting things to say, and I think he's spot on with this. They want to keep us, keep the truth hidden and keep us down, so we don't raise our vibration, or
Yeah, all you have to do is look back at what Rockefellers did to the educational systems here, and then what they did to the pharmaceutical industry. Petroleum. They wanted petroleum-based pharmaceuticals, and they took everything holistic out of the medical journals. They didn't want you reaching for plant-based resolutions. Rather, if you have a cold, they want you to take a pharmaceutical instead of
the patent on it, so they can make money. Yeah, I know. And then feed people chemicals in food so they get ill, and then have to buy all the drugs it's a perpetual cycle. I mean, hopefully that will change. But
yeah. How has the audience responded to your documentary so far? Did you show this at the Cannes Film Festival as well?
Yeah, it was. It went really, really well. It was like they actually ran out of posters because people were going around stealing all the posters, which is really cool. Which is really cool. So yeah, it's had a fabulous reception, because it's, at the end of the day, I just made the film myself. It doesn't have a budget. It was just my passion. My films now are more, I guess, polished, but this one is, the subject matter is so engaging. I guess that's why people love it, because I'm talking about weird stuff in a profound way, and it's like, whoa, gets people thinking. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it. And just if you haven't watched it, watch it and let me know it's free to watch on Tubi. So
yeah, that's right. You can watch it on Tubi. You got to deal with a few commercials, but that's everywhere. So
yeah, yeah, fair enough.
Do you think mainstream religious institutions are prepared? I know we spoke about that before, but what do you think some of the biggest like theological challenges would be? Say for like Catholicism, let's go down that rabbit hole. I mean, the Vatican said, you know, what they said, and they seem pretty open to it. But don't you think that would change the face of what we've been taught our whole lives?
It would. Yeah, it definitely would. It would form a new branch of religion, exo-religion, because it's going to be interplanetary faith. It's not just going to be based on Earth. You know, are there going to be missionaries going out to other planets? I mean, I'm sure the Catholic Church wants that. So, you know, like it went out to Africa and South America, I'm sure it'll want to conquer the universe. So, but I guess the issue is what would the aliens bring to the table? Would they kind of be evolved to such a level where they think, well, there is no God, there is this universe thing, and they have their own ideas on what to believe.
Exactly.
Well, would they impose it on us in a reverse colonialism? Possibly, because of that advanced their founders, they can probably do that. So that's one of the main issues, I think.
What if religion is silly and it's just, you know, I mean,
precisely, what did we do?
Exactly.
Would the aliens allow freedom of religion? You know, they could present us with all the facts, though, that this religion doesn't work because of this, and this religion's rubbish. This is the way, you know, we found this is the right religion. Would they still let us do our thing? I don't know.
I don't know. I saw a very interesting study that really made. I still can't make too much sense of it in terms of changing my own personal belief system, but they took 2 groups of children and they had them videotaped and they put them in a room, and the teacher came out and said, okay, I'm going to put a piece of candy. I'm going to shorten it. I'm going to put a piece of candy here, and don't touch it until I come back in the room.
Right.
You're not allowed to have it. You're not allowed to touch it. So he left, and all the kids, I think 9 out of 10, took the candy and ate it. And then he put a chair in the room, and he went back in the room and he said, listen, there's a princess sitting in the chair. You can't see her. She's invisible. She's watching over you. So don't touch the candy until I come back, because you got the magical princess watching over you. None of the kids touched the candy. None of them. So you might ask, well, what does that mean? Is religion just an exercise in teaching? Exactly. So
it has been, especially the Christian religion. I just, you know, in this country, it was a way of just keeping the working class, the workers, subservient to the masters, and to get them to go to work every day on the fields. They go to church on a Sunday. To, you know, give them the fear of hellfire if they disobeyed. Right. It was a good way of keeping population in control. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's a really good study, I think. So yeah, what happens? I mean, what happens if you take that away? I mean, it's less so nowadays, isn't it? Because there's less control, I guess. People have got more awareness of, you know, the Earth, the universe, whatever, life, and individual freedoms than we had 100 years ago.
Yeah. I don't know. I know a lot of atheists that are very moral, decent people. And I tend to believe, aside from, I mean, I'm Catholic too. I believe in Jesus. But I think that innately we are all moral people, and that people, you don't need to, like I said, there's a lot of atheists that are very moral, twisted people. So I think it's an intuitive part of our intuitive nature to be moral beings.
But why is that? Is that because God or the Creator has seeded that in us, or is it, or
Right.
we, and what is that seed? Is that extraterrestrial? Are we hybrids? I'm kind of more and more getting into that now, thinking it kind of makes sense, really, how we're so far different from the rest of the, creatures on the planet. It's like, why are we so different? And why did we kind of just evolve with, one moment we're covered in fur, the next we're not, even though we're still, running around hunting animals. It's just, yeah, it doesn't make sense, really. I still think there's a lot of history that
there is.
We don't know.
No, I mean, it's a journey. It's all a part of our journey. But if you look at movies like 2001: A Space Odyssey, I remember seeing it as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it today, you see it through different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Hollywood knew back then what the deal was, because if you look at it with the apes and smashing the skull and the slab, I'm sure you've probably seen that movie 100 times.
Yeah.
It was a tell. That movie was a tell of our evolutionary and spiritual growth and where it's going. Because at the end, you see the rebirth, the baby in the universe. I mean, it's crazy when you watch something so many decades later and how you just see it differently and you get a different understanding of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was Stanley Kubrick, who actually used to live just not far from where I live in St Albans in Hertfordshire. So, but yeah, you were right with the monolith coming down. I mean, you guess you assume that's extraterrestrial, or is it something else? The fact that it's a weird monolith has some sort of effect on the apes that leads them, to discover weapons, and then how to.
I heard that wasn't AI, it wasn't extraterrestrial. It was a symbol of human intelligence, because it happened right after they started eating meat and the brain started developing and growing. That was a symbol of the spark of human intelligence.
Right.
And now it could have been divinely given by God. But a lot of people think it meant, it was some kind of UFO thing. It was an alien thing. No, it symbolized how man got that intelligence at that moment and started evolving into man from ape. It's crazy when you think about it.
It is crazy. I mean, the person who wrote the book, Sir Arthur C. Clarke, who wrote 2001: Space Odyssey, that the film's based on, he was the first person to kind of get me into all this stuff, really, because he had a TV series in the UK called Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World, and it was weird. It really was. And he was a proper kind of, because he was a scientist as well. He developed the communication satellite, so he was a hard-nosed scientist that wrote these science fiction books using science. But obviously he believed there was something else out there, and so he did this series on all the weird stuff like crystal skulls, Bigfoot. He did UFOs. He did ghosts and things like that. But he always had an open mind, and you kind of just in my mind, I think there's more to this life than just material reality. So yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that film, because there was some sort of, I think there's been some sort of intervention. It's not just us evolving from apes. I think something came here. Well, I think basically life is seeded from elsewhere, panspermia theory, which is, Sir Francis Crick, one of the pioneers of discovered DNA. He believed in panspermia, and that makes sense to me, really. But and that makes sense to maybe our future is out there, back in the stars. I mean, I know Elon Musk wants to take us there, so.
Panspermia is where life hit the Earth by meteors or asteroids, and it brought life that way, right? Isn't that the same type of?
Well, possibly. That's one of the theories, but you think about that. That's one of the theories, but the other theory is that it was deliberately seeded.
Oh, well, like aliens. by ETs?
Yeah. That's what I think. I mean, you can go back to the ancient Sumerian texts,
Right?
you know, the Anunnaki and all that. That, you know, humans were created basically to mine gold for the aliens.
That whole thing's a little crazy for me because how could giants mate with humans? It doesn't seem a physically possible thing.
I guess because, I mean, a few people suggested that there weren't physical giants. There were giants in terms of intellects and power.
Well, what are giants? I mean, you see some of the doors that were built. I thought, and the bones that they found are huge.
But I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? But because there are this giant mythology all over the planet. It's not just in one place. And they've got the giants of Sardinia, and you've got the Nephilim in the Bible. You know, the giants who mated with the women of the earth. I mean, that sounds like, you know, hybridization to me. But maybe it's just, maybe it is more symbolic. But I know what you're saying about the giant structures. I mean, it is all weird. And then I think last night I was watching something on Akhenaten, the Egyptian pharaoh. I don't know if you heard of him. It's this Egyptian Akhenaten who had this very kind of elongated face, basically looked like an alien. But he banished all the other Egyptian gods and just had Aten, the sun god.
Yeah,
it was a very, very weird time, and all his family looked really, really weird and odd.
And then they tried to get him out, right?
Yeah.
Him out of history. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's something. I mean, there is a lost part of history, which is what, you know, Graham Hancock goes on about.
Right.
There is, you know, I'm sure there's been really advanced civilizations a long time ago, maybe even at pre-Atlantis civilization that roamed the world, possibly.
Yeah. Religion, unfortunately, creates a lot of divisiveness and divides us more, I think, than it does unifies us globally.
Sure.
What do you think? How do you think that would change with disclosure?
That's a good question. I guess it would give us a kind of common focus that, you know, there's life that's alien, and we've got more in common with each other than we think might unite us, I guess. You know, maybe it would, or maybe it wouldn't. It's because you are right. It's like what you know, if, you know, the Creator gave us religion and gave us this kind of power to believe, but all it's done is, I mean, it does give people hope, but at the end of the day, it's just been an effing mess, hasn't it? Really,
it really is.
You know,
I mean, it's if we had one global religion, I could, you know, it would make so much more sense to me. I could never understand why we have so many different religious beliefs, and why there's so much hate and war when there's an opposing belief system against it. Like, it could be any two religions knocking heads. I mean, I don't want to get into too much about that, but I don't know. And then if you bring aliens into that scenario, what does that do? Does that nullify all religions?
Yeah, pacify them, maybe. I don't know. It's a really interesting point, because you look at what the benefits of religion as opposed to the, you know, all the bad things it's brought. It's like, it's why people become atheists, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, we do.
It's a good advert for it, really.
Yeah.
And, you know, a good advert for science as well, because, you know, but then I kind of go around these things because I've got my science degree, so I've got that kind of rational belief.
Yeah.
And then I think, oh, there's definitely something like my cat died just after Christmas.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And but yeah, and it was part of the family. We loved him, and it was, we miss him basically. But it's like, I believe that he had a soul as an animal, had a life force.
Absolutely.
And according to physics, energy can't be destroyed or created.
Right.
He had this energy. There's a lifeless body. The spark has gone. Where has it gone?
Right. Exactly.
For a cat, for a human. But
they have weighed bodies after they passed away, and there's a weight difference. It's ever so minuscule. I mean, they have special equipment to measure it. So there's something there. There's something there that's leaving when we pass.
Yeah, and the fact that scientists have now coming on board that consciousness doesn't reside in the brain; it's separate,
right?
And that just throws up a whole. I mean, I guess it started with quantum physics, showing the kind of woo-woo side of physics and reality, that it's not, everything's not what it seems, that there's something else to it, and that's what kind of gives me faith that it's not just physical stuff. There's when we die, there's something else. I don't know, our minds are capable of.
If you look at quantum mechanics, what did Einstein call it? Spooky action from a distance, or something like that.
Yeah, spooky action at a distance. Yeah.
Distance. Yeah. How? I mean, and now with CERN doing weird stuff over there, proving that there's more dimensions than we can 12. I think it's crazy when you think. So we're so stuck in this three-dimensional world, and everything we see and think and know and taste and smell is all within this realm. So maybe everything we're thinking is so wrong, Mark, in terms of alien life and alien consciousness. Maybe we need to step outside of that, and even God. Maybe the way we perceive God has nothing to do with religion, really, and maybe Jesus explained it that way because at the time that was what people understood. Because biblical stories are stories, and they're teaching tools. I don't know. I'm like trying to piece it all together. Maybe God is our consciousness.
Well, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within, not without. It's so going into the mind, into the quantum realm. Yeah. Maybe that's the whole psychic UFO thing, the psionics, like you said.
Absolutely.
This ties in with it. I think that's what the reality. But this is what the UFO thing is. It's not just physical craft from other planets. And that's the trouble with disclosure. If we got the proper disclosure, the US government, for instance, released the truth, then it's something well weird that would just change everything.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, but then would we want to go to work, do the normal things? I think, well, there's no point. We're just consciousness. We can just sit and meditate and expect stuff to come, use our minds. You see what I mean? We'll be in that realm as opposed to in the physical realm. We'll want to investigate it, explore it. You see what I mean?
Well, they created this matrix. It was designed for us to work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and, keep supplying the energy like we're batteries, right? Think about this. Elon Musk created a chip. He has 3 humans experimented on where he implanted this chip. And these people are now capable of computing by thought.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, and people are not making a big deal about this. This to me should be front page news. So they can operate computers by thinking.
That is mad, isn't it? I don't know what I think about that, really. But you mentioned the Matrix. I mean, I've also discovered there's a British scientist, I don't know if you heard of him, called Melvin Vopson.
No.
University of Portsmouth, and he's found evidence in basically in nature, in equations and formulas in the building blocks of life, that basically life is a simulation. He's found mathematical evidence that you know, we're in some sort of simulation game, whatever, you know. This code basically that he's discovered that means it can't just be random. There's something that's created this game, this system, whatever, and we're in it. So that gives another slant on it. So where does that put the aliens? Are the aliens the creators, the players, or is God the creator? God is some guy at the end of the universe who's created this game, which we're all in, and then now it's time to introduce the next generation of aliens. They're going to start messing with you. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? It's like the Truman Show, but on a universal level.
It is like the Truman Show. Well, Google also discovered that we live in a simulation as well, because they have this new super fast computer. I forget what it's called. It's got some feminine Willow. It's called Willow, I believe. And they said it's a quantum-based computer. And they also said they discovered that we live in a simulation.
Wow.
What does that mean to you? What if that's the truth, Mark? What does that mean to you? Like, ponder that for 30 seconds. If you woke up tomorrow and found out you were living in a freaking simulation, what would that do to your religious beliefs?
Yeah, but it just means that we're physically trapped in the simulation, but then we still have this soul, this consciousness that could elevate to the other realms. So maybe this is just the physical matrix, life on this planet, in this solar system, whatever, in this physical realm. It's just one level of it, and this is the simulation. Then we ascend to the higher levels. I don't know.
But what if the higher levels are part of the simulation?
It's just a platform game, and we go up higher.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't know. It's so difficult, isn't it?
Stuff, right? Crazy stuff. But you know, I remember when I first went to college, and I had a professor said, and it stuck with me because it's so true. It's not the answer so much that matters, but it's the questions. And I've always based my life on that, you know, because the questions prompt you to think and create. And, you know, we're creators by nature. And I think we're going to create our answer. I really do. I think we're going to find a way to create the right answer. What about NDEs? What do you think about near-death experiences and religion?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's something to it. I mean, just I haven't had an NDE myself, but I've had an out-of-body experience where I saw my soul, if you will. I was above my body, and the reason why I know it happened is that I saw it was, I was a student at the time, and I saw it was on top of this rented flat wardrobe that I never looked at before, really high up, and I noticed what was up there. I mean, it's only a few minutes, but I was definitely out of my body. And it was really, really strange. So, which is why I think the soul is separate, consciousness is separate, because I've had that experience. So yeah, I mean, I've looked at the NDEs. There's so many stories of people that have had them and they've gone and then come back, but the brain and body's physically dead. And what's that famous doctor's name? What's his name? Eben Alexander. Yeah. His story is fascinating, isn't it? Where he's, you know, he was a doctor, and it happened to him, and not
just a doctor. He was like a brain.
Oh yeah.
Scientist doctor. He was
scientist. Yeah.
Neuroscientist. Yeah.
And his brain was technically dead, but he came back to life, and had a profound impact, and it has a profound impact on anyone who has one of these. That just ties in with my theory that, you know, this life force, this spark, you know, it's energy. So it's got to go somewhere. I don't know where it goes. You know, maybe it goes.
On you touch too much on reincarnation in your book. I mean, in your entry.
No, I will do on the next one. But it's a really interesting subject because Sir Arthur C. Clarke, who wrote 2001: Space Odyssey, in that TV series, he went into reincarnation quite a lot because he actually lived in Sri Lanka, near India, and there was so many really good evidence of these children that knew that they were just been, you know, reborn from someone else in this village like 200 miles away they could possibly not get to, and they could give precise details. And that was in, you know, I know it's in their kind of belief system, but there's so much really good evidence that there's something to it. And even he decided there was probably more to reincarnation than, say, poltergeists, for instance. There was more evidence.
There's kids globally, though, that it's not just Sri Lanka. There's kids globally that have stories where they know exactly who they were in a past life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's kids that do experience it more, but because they're still open to that spiritual aspect. Yeah, that's really, not freaky is the wrong word, but really interesting. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some fake ones out there as well, but there is some.
There's a lot of conversation, about the presence of ETs, aliens, as being indicative, a sign of the end of days. I've been seeing a lot of that, like on social media. Everybody is like grabbing Bible passages and correlating them to the orbs or think about that.
There's a famous passage in Ephesians, I think it is, and Lucifer being the kind of Lord of the Sky and all these flying things around. I think that ties in with that a little bit. And then, you know, you look at the book of Revelation and all the weird stuff going on there, that can be possibly linked to what was going on now. But then humans have always been kind of, especially the evangelical Christians, have always been prophesizing that, you know, rapture, the end times is coming soon, but it never does. So I guess one day we'll be proven wrong. but you know, like you mentioned earlier, the Project Bluebeam, one of the theories about that is that Project Bluebeam, where they use special effects, lasers, all that sort of stuff, is one, to create a fake alien invasion, but the other is also to create the second coming of Christ. So I guess that could be a possibility.
Out of the bag, though. You think it would? Do you think they would still move forward with something like that? Do you think it would be realistic enough that they could pull it off?
Yeah, I don't. I'm not on a global scale. I think they'll still use the technology in a more localized scale, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's a weapon. And I think that's what a lot of it is all about, especially for the US government. I mean, just look at what the black budget is for the defense, or the billions. I don't know if, you know, I don't know if that'll ever get accounted for, but I'm sure there's, you know, lots of technology that we don't know about. And this is what I've also been researching recently. I've had a really good discussion. There's a professor in England called Professor Simon Holland, who's worth checking out. He used to work for the BBC Science, and he's worked with NASA and things like that. And he's a very credible character. But he's telling me, basically, you know, you have to realize with the Manhattan Project since then, the development of the nuclear bomb, you know, the governments, the military wanted to weaponize physics. You know, they got this E = mc squared, splitting the atom bomb. They want to use this. Wow. You know, we want to use this as a really advanced weapons. And that's been going on. And we don't know the truth of what they developed. And what I found at Rendlesham Forest was that there was a lot of secret research being going on between the US government and Margaret Thatcher in the 80s. And they were developing these really advanced systems. And one of the theories is that they were messing around with electromagnetic forces and things like that, and they actually opened up some sort of weird portal, and that's what people experienced at Rendlesham. It was not necessarily a UFO from another planet, but it was this weird portal that had been opened up by this, you know, advanced physics testing. It's really, really strange. But so yeah, I mean, that's another thing to throw out there with UFOs, is that you've got to realize that there's a lot of dark stealth technology that is way ahead of what we think, and then they're never going to come out and say, oh yeah, we're just testing a new this new, you know, because they're not going to say that. They're going to use UFOs as a cover story because that's really convenient. I'm not saying UFOs don't exist, they do, but I finally got to the stage where I think the UFO, orbs, aliens, there's no one answer to it. There's many answers, and they're all right. You know,
I totally agree. I totally agree. When you went out to Rendlesham and did a documentary out there, I know you don't have a release date yet, but I'm excited to see that. I know you had some kind of spooky stuff going on. Didn't you try to summon orbs too when you were out? I don't want to give everything away, but
no, that's fine. We did, yeah, and we did a CE5. And it was weird because we were warned beforehand that, because my my work partner Guy, who investigated with me, he likes to drink, so we would go out investigating. He'll have quite a few cans of Guinness. I'm teetotal. I don't drink anymore. So, but anyway, we were warned by this lady called Ray Dove. I don't know if you know her, but she's a CE5 practitioner. She worked under Dr. Greer, but she's really, really lovely and sweet, and she's had some amazing healing herself from, you know, basically making contact with ET. So she gave us a load of tips and advice and gave us some protocols, and you know, she told us not to drink. Anyway, Guy went ahead and drunk. When we start, I don't want to give the whole film away, but it's quite funny. But we started kind of trying to manifest, and then we kind of had a bit of an argument. I went off and then came back, and we had a weird, paranormal, unsettling event, and we did see orbs, and we had weird sounds that we couldn't, and we tried to investigate it, and it got more and more scary. But we had, you know, we had really high spikes, EMF readings, radiation, just come out from nowhere. It was like being on a ghost hunt. It seriously was. And we weren't looking for ghosts; we were looking for UFOs. And we had dowsing rods. I don't know if you know dowsing rods.
Yeah.
So we used those, and they were just spinning around like crazy, absolutely crazy.
There is a portal there. Then, I mean,
yeah, quite possibly. And then I'll give you a lot of spoilers when that. But anyway, one of the weirdest things happened. I've got the film finished. I've got an agent in LA. I send it to her. And she phones me up the next day, all panicky. Goes, "Oh, okay, what's wrong with the film?" Nothing wrong with the film. Anyway, she had this really weird experience while watching the film. This kind of this thing manifest while she's watching the film. While we're trying to manifest the UFO, this thing manifested in front of her, about this size. And it was, yeah, and in front of her, it was spinning around counterclockwise. It was basically what was like a swastika, but not like the Nazi symbol, but like the ancient Hindu. And it was like spinning around in front of her, and she was well freaked out. It's like, it was like, because she was watching this film, it's like, oh my gosh, maybe we did open something, and maybe it's going to be like anyone who watches this film is going to have a weird...
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? I mean, it wasn't planned, but it was like...
That's like that scary movie with the girl in the well.
The Ring. Yeah, The Ring, yeah. It's like that. I thought exactly the same. But
oh my God!
No one's died though. So that's weird, yeah.
Oh, you should send it to me and let me watch it, and then if I have anything spooky, you know, I can go, oh my God, it's definitely something.
Yeah, I'll send you the screener over and have a look. Yeah,
oh, I would love to. I would love to
see what you make of it. But
yeah. What else do you have brewing in the works there? I know you said you were going to tell us something exciting.
Well, yeah, I've just made a new film, a new film, It's called UFOs, The Truth Is Out There. Not very original, I must admit. But it's about the whole current drone situation, disclosure in the US, UK. And we go and investigate the UK's Area 51. Everyone knows where Area 51 in America is, but we found this secret base in the UK, and we got really up right close to it, which is really cool. Quite scary, actually. So that's really cool. But I've been contacted by so many people in the UK, especially, who've been seeing these weird drones, but they're not like drones. And it's up near these Air Force bases. I've got so much footage, so we're using a lot of that. And then one of these ladies was visited by a real life man in black. And she told me the story, and she gave me his business. He had a business card. I don't know why a man in black would have had a business card, but I've got this business card, and we actually phone it up on the film. It's quite actually go, oh, I don't want to speak to the man in black. It's quite interesting. So that we found some really weird stuff. And anyway, this professor guy I mentioned earlier, we interviewed him for the film, and he's categorically told me that he's seen proof that basically that Mark Zuckerberg, his Breakthrough Listen SETI program, scanning the universe for signals, has basically found evidence of intelligent life. Proxima Centauri is. There's definite proof that this is true, but they won't go public with it because they don't want to have all the questions about what does it look like, what life it is, and things like that. So they won't go just sitting on it, basically.
So Mark Zuckerberg has a SETI program
called Breakthrough. It's called Breakthrough Listen. It's been going quite a while. So yeah, basically they found the signal from Proxima Centauri. I think it's from an Australian observatory, and then it was confirmed by various other ones around the world. I know Professor Simon Holland used to work for NASA, so he's been told by someone at Breakthrough Listen that this is true, but they won't go public on it. It's been verified that it's a proper signal, and it's not some sort of misdirected thing from Earth. And it's got such a pattern that it can't be anything natural. It's definitely something manufactured. So it is definitive proof. And this interview is in the new film, definitive, which we're going to go public with, because I think the public should know the truth.
Why does everything need to be hidden from the public?
Precisely, yeah. It's all bollocks, isn't it? Why have the SETI program in the first place? If you're never going to go public with it.
That's I'm going to start using that word. That's so much better. But it is bollocks. It really is. So he's got proof, right? And he's deciding he's the king of all decision makers, of course. So he's deciding that we shouldn't know that there's life on Alpha Centauri or wherever. I mean,
Proxima Centauri, yeah. Centauri.
This is such BS. It angers me. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. We deserve to know the truth. I mean, yeah, definitely. But it's bollocks. Sorry for swearing again.
No, it is bollocks. What did you make of that? And I always get this name wrong. A Maui, a Maui.
Yeah, because obviously I've spoken to Harvey Loeb about it. He was one of the first to suggest that because of the what's the word? The trajectory. The orbit it was taking was elliptical. It wasn't like what we expected an asteroid to be. That he said, yeah, he reckons it probably was
plotted. It plotted a course, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to come precisely round the Earth and out the solar system. Yeah, it was to make it. It would be impossible. The odds of it doing that trajectory, that course.
Plus, didn't have an entrail like a comet would, right?
No. It was
spark off, ice as it's burning through the galaxy. There was no ice trail, I mean, it just seemed like a real. Now they followed it. Didn't it shoot off into the universe? It's like gone now. It's
gone now. There's no way of getting any more information. But yeah, Harvey Loeb reckons it's most likely some sort of craft, whether it's
Yeah.
just a probe or something.
Probe, yeah.
But it's evidence that, because, you know, it's probably come from deep elsewhere, you know, somewhere else in the solar system.
Yeah.
You know, somewhere else in the universe, another galaxy. Yeah, fascinating. So
what are they doing with this information that Mark Zuckerberg has? I mean, you should be wanting to call him up if you could. I mean, how does he become the ruler of what we should know and not know?
I don't know. To be fair, I've done my best. I put a press release out, and a few UK papers picked it up. Because as soon as I heard the story, I did an interview and I recorded it. So I put it on YouTube. It's there. You can see it. It's on my Nub TV channel with Professor Simon Holland. I thought, yeah, everyone needs to know. But yeah, it didn't gain any traction. We've got a few newspapers over here. But I expected it to be a massive story. But I guess until it's verified by Breakthrough Listen, I guess that's the issue. I guess it's just, you know, a source basically at the end of the day. I mean, I trust the source. I'm pretty sure it's accurate.
Yeah. You know, it's just so interesting because we get these injections of information from legacy media, like about Googled program discovering that we live in a multiverse or a multi-dimensional universe or a simulation, whatever. And like we read this and then it's like next, and people forget about it the next day. The same thing with the drones. Like there was all this crazy chaos for a few weeks, and now everybody's like, majority of people have just moved on, next, whatever. And that makes me crazy because this is like, I think we're being fed this information knowing that people are not going to make a big deal out of it, like with Mark Zuckerberg. Like you said, that should be a headline story. What is happening?
It should be, yeah. There should be journalists queuing up at his doors, you know, release the truth, get the data out there, but they're not doing it. I don't know why. I don't know if there's a cover up. Who knows? Probably.
It's so interesting. I had interviewed this ufologist who agreed to do appearances on my show, like at least once or twice a month. Brilliant guy. His name is Cliff Weldon, and he runs a channel called Night Shift on YouTube. You should check it out. He's just he makes so much sense of the unsensical, you know, like when it comes to ufology. And he had an orb experience. He said he was trying to summon them for quite some time. And he went out. The video's on my YouTube channel. I'll put it link in the description for folks that see it. And he was walking his dog, and he did psionics. He did his thing, meditated while he was out walking his dog. And these 3 massive orbs came appearing in front of him. Wow. He's got minutes and minutes of video. It blew me away. It blew me away because definitely not fake. I mean, it's legit video. And I had asked him, I said, gosh, Clint, after that, how did you feel? Like, what did that make you feel? You summoned these orbs, they appeared. How was that for you? Like emotionally? And his response blew me away. He said, well, it was fascinating, but you know, I went back in the house and the bills got to be paid and the dinner cleaned and the kids got to be taken care of. And I don't know if I would have that same reaction. I don't know. How do you think you would?
Well, yeah, because you're saying about why aren't people reacting to these stories that are, you know,
exactly.
The same people are kind of chained to the material drudgery of the day, aren't they? I guess.
Yeah.
Not free for, I guess, you know, because you have got bills to pay, kids to feed and all that.
Yeah. And it's sad. To me, it's sad. I don't like that side of human nature. This should be one of the biggest stories in our lives, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if it was me, I want to get it out there. I want people to know about it, want to share it.
Absolutely.
Well,
work is, right?
Yeah.
That's what all your documentaries are. That's what you're investing all your time and money and everything in to get the word out there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And get more people just questioning things, really. Like you said, questions are important. I don't pretend to have the answers. No one can. If someone in ufology says they know the answers, then they're lying.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
But I also passionate about being democratic with this, but I don't want to, because I think in ufology there's a lot of kind of charismatic ego type figures that are trying to control things a little bit, and they want to be the Christ-like figure that releases the truth and it has that interview and does that.
Are you talking about Greer in particular, or?
No, possibly. Yeah.
I know we don't want to burn any bridges here, but he does make it. I mean, even with a lot of the disclosure stuff, he makes it like about himself, and I think he's been told that before, so it's nothing new for him to hear.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, yeah, he's done some great work.
Yeah.
And the issue I have with is the whole. I know everyone has to make a living.
Right.
It's the money side of it. I don't see that as a good thing. Doing cruises, C5 cruises. I don't know. Is that a good idea? I just want people to come to the field at the back of my house, come and have a cup of tea, and so I'm not going to charge you.
Already charging $5,000 interview, because I'm like, oh, I would love to interview him, and they're like, well, you got to pay $5,000 to get in line because. Yeah,
no, I got turned down the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and I mean, I was told by someone, a producer, another UFO producer, and he'll if you do a film with him, he'll want half the film basically. So.
Wow. See, to me, that's an absolute turnoff right there.
Yeah, and obviously I understand, he's got value, and obviously the film would make more money. I understand the material side of things, but yeah, I don't know. I think
when it comes to this topic, I don't think he should be blending the two. I mean, if he really cares about disclosure and cares about this subject, money should be very far in the rear for him, in the rearview mirror. But
yeah, and to be fair, most ufologists are like that. There's a few that, I mean, for instance, one of my good friends, the first person that I interviewed 20-30 years ago was Nick Pope. And he was really kind to me as a journalist at the time, doing my first, and said, and he's never charged me, and he's always been
wonderful.
I found time for me, even though he's on Ancient Aliens and things like that,
I see him all over, because I love Ancient Aliens. I watch it all the time.
Yeah.
But I see him everywhere. Every UFO thing I watch, which is all I watch really, because television is such garbage. But I see Nick Pope, and I respect him greatly. I think he's so full of wisdom and intelligence. So, I'm so excited to be able to speak with him someday myself. So
yeah, that would be really good. I think you should talk about his film.
Absolutely, yeah. So what are you working on now, other than the Rendlesham thing? What's in the works for you? What are your dreams and hopes and aspirations?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do this this TV series. It's going to be called A UFO Road Trip, and it's basically where me and Guy we go around various locations. First of all, in the UK, we'll go to a stone circle, try and manifest a UFO there. We'll go to this forest where there's, English Bigfoot is, try and find the Bigfoot, try and summon a UFO there, and, constantly investigating the links between UFOs, the paranormal, and with this whole manifestation arc running through the series. And then we'll be going up searching for Atlantis in the North Sea of England.
Oh, nice.
just things like that, bringing a more kind of archaeological, historical, mythological element to it, because there's obviously in Britain there's loads of history and myths and legends, and so we'll be tying that in with the UFO phenomena. So that's what we plan to do. We're just going to need to get someone behind it, because it's quite a big project and we can't afford to do it. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, have you talked to any like networks about it yet, or?
Well, I'm hoping got people that are going to do it, because the trouble is when you're an independent filmmaker, that you can't approach Netflix or Tubi direct. They won't speak to you. You need an agent. So, and I do have an agent. It's just it all takes time.
Yeah, no, it does.
And I'm very much just want to get things out there, and that's the way I am. I'm very driven and just want to get things out. But then I've got to try and make a living as well.
Yeah,
I'll do a celebrity cruise in the North Sea. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, right.
Who wants to pay £5,000 a ticket? It's quite cold.
A lot of people in the UFO field are doing this cruise thing, and they get a lot of people to sign up for it too.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we should do something together.
I know. I think it would be brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you got to feed the family and pay the bills. Might as well make the best of it. I wasn't knocking Stephen Greer for doing that, but to me, that should be secondary. Like the message should be primary. And then if the money comes in and you have ways to monetize stuff, absolutely go for it,
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I can't criticize, but yeah, it's not the way I would do it.
Yeah. Well, thankfully you have, some great documentaries out there. And of course, I'll put the link to them in the description.
Thanks, yeah. Appreciate that.
I got it running across the screen too, where folks can watch them. I've enjoyed every one of them. I think there were 4 so far. Mark, how many did you?
There's a few. I just look. I think there's more on Amazon Prime than around Tubi. So there's the king of UFOs. I don't know if you've seen that one yet, about the royal family.
Yeah, I think I interviewed you on that.
Yeah, that's on Amazon Prime.
That was great.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed making that one.
And then I interviewed you on another one of your documentaries. Which one was that? Refresh my memory.
I don't know. Was it the Paranormal UFO Connection?
It doesn't ring a bell.
No.
I know I interviewed you on another one. I thought I saw 4 of them. I don't know why that number's sticking in my head, but
yeah, I mean, I've done quite a few, to be honest. Not all of them on Tubi. It's quite a lot on Amazon.
How do you get? Oh, so they're not all on Tubi then? They're kind of spread around.
Yeah, I did one called UFO Encounters of the Fifth Kind. That's where we manifest the UFO in my.
We've had some people. Let's see. I don't know. Somebody made a comment here. It's a man's universe when you keep it God instead. Nah, no thanks. That's pronoun related. Eating animals is not intelligent. Oh, Matthew. Eating animals is not intelligent. Well, that's not true, Matthew. And historically, when you look back to the evolution of not even historically, when you look back at the evolution of man, the minute man started eating meat, our brains grew, which prompted us to be intelligent beings. I mean, I know I've definitely seen study upon study that there is that correlation of us becoming carnivores and developing human intelligence.
Okay, maybe Matthew's suggesting that the next level of evolution is not eating meat. I don't think I could do that.
Now that we're intelligent beings, I mean, are you a vegetarian, if you don't mind me asking?
No.
I'm not either, but I tried to be a vegetarian, but I didn't do it too well, and I kind of made myself sick.
Sure. I mean, we only eat we only eat organic meat.
Well, that's good.
organic milk, and welfare treated animals, because obviously it's not a good idea.
Way to do it. Yeah. I mean, I love what Cahill Gibran had to say. Before you eat meat, you say a prayer and thank them for their sacrifice. And I always try to do that because I love animals. I've had dogs in my life, my whole life, and I respect animals, and I don't like eating them. It bothers me, and I don't eat pork. I don't eat veal. The only thing I eat is chicken and occasionally beef. So I'm very picky about the meat that I eat. So, but yeah, I mean, if you look at the way man developed from into hominid, it was with the onset of eating meat that man developed human intelligence, because our brains grew once we started eating protein. Our brains grew in size and we developed. I often wonder if cave people, the Neanderthal man, had a sense of spirituality. Well, they buried their dead, didn't they? So think about that, right?
Yeah, and and what created them, because they're now found Neanderthal cave paintings in Gibraltar, I think.
Yeah.
So even they were creating art.
Yeah.
So to have that as well sort of takes them to a different level, rather than just surviving and killing animals. Sorry, Matthew. They were.
No one will be liberated from the cycle of birth and death if they don't renounce eating meat. You may be right, Matthew. We don't know. We're just a bunch of cavemen still walking around eating meat. I don't know.
That's an interesting point, Matthew.
Yeah, it is.
I'd like to know if Matthew's suggesting that if we do that, are we going to, when we die, will we elevate to a higher consciousness? Is that what you're saying, Matthew? You're saying it's like, would we go to a different realm if we renounce meat eating? I'd like to know. I'm seriously interested.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It could be. Although I have heard I've interviewed a lot of people that have had NDEs, and one of the things that someone had mentioned was that the light is a trick, and that, how they say go into the light. Well, the light is just the path to reincarnation.
Okay. That's
right. And that if you don't want to reincarnate, don't go into the light.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm just repeating stuff that people that have had NDEs mentioned. So who knows? I don't know. All who denounce meat.
Listen to the teachings of all the saints and sages who all denounce meat eating. Okay.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
Yes, if we reduce our karma.
If we become vegan and reduce our karma, there's a better chance to be liberated.
Okay. So, Matthew, what sort of spirituality are you practicing? What do you suggest? So, if we become vegan, I can understand that. Reduce our karma. So I'd just like to get your thoughts on how we ascend to the higher realms.
Yeah, we're all
would alien beings, human alien beings from a higher realm, are they going to be eating meat or not?
Meditation on the inner heavenly light and sound. Oh, wait. Yes, if we become a vegan, all right.
Meditation. Okay, I like that. So is he talking about binaural beats or listening to some dodgy band called the Pocket Gods? I don't know. That's interesting anyway. The perfect living master. That's where I could kind of, who is a perfect living master? They're going to charge you lots of money. Or I'm being cynical. I haven't heard of that.
Me either. Yeah.
Interesting though, Matthew. Thank you for messaging. Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, meat eating is like a whole, it's a whole nother topic. A true master never charges money.
Okay, we should tell Stephen Greer that then. Yeah, no, I quite agree.
You should.
If you've achieved enlightenment, then yeah, Shouldn't be charging a fee for it.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, and I'll say it again, when it comes to something global that, you know, you're talking about disclosure, this is a huge deal. You know, everybody has different priorities, obviously. I understand his need. We live in a material world, but, you know, when you're looking at serving mankind, there shouldn't be a dollar attached to that, the importance of getting that message out there. I mean,
no, I quite agree. And obviously, you know, people got to charge for their books and their films, and I understand that.
Right.
But yeah, okay. So that, it's interesting to see what will happen in the next 6 months. I mean, because Dr. Greer's already been saying there's going to be some sort of big disclosure in January. That never happened.
Right. But he does that. I mean, he's done that before, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's always around the corner, isn't it? The next big thing.
It makes me crazy.
And then there's talk of this big kind of asteroid or spaceship coming to Earth in 2030. Don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Tomorrow I'm interviewing a doctor who specializes in EMF attacks, and it's kind of scary. EMP attacks, electric pulses, and it's a very scary thing. He's saying, and I hope folks tune in to watch that, because he's written many books. He's an authority on it. And he's like, we're underprepared. We're not ready for these types of things. They're definitely going to happen. They have these weapons already in play. I mean, there's a lot. So, you know, I don't know.
Who has these weapons? Us or?
Governments across the globe.
Right, yeah, okay.
These weapons are already in the works. I mean, I've seen video of them shooting from space, these electromagnetic pulses. So, and I know they're not fake; they're legit. So that we have the technology; it's there. But it's very scary when you hear what this doctor has to say. It's not good, because we're underprepared. We're not prepared for this.
Well, that sounds interesting. I mean, that goes back to what we said about the weaponization of physics.
Yes,
trying to use science to create more weapons. I mean, maybe that's to, you know, hold off an alien invasion. Who knows? Yeah.
So Matthew is giving some advice here. Look into the teachings of Supreme Master Ching Hai, who imparts the true method for enlightenment free of charge to sincere. Yeah, well, if you're serious aspirants, yep. Thank you, Matthew. We appreciate that. Well, Mark, thank you so much. I always have such an enjoyable conversation. Yeah, been a lot of fun. And don't forget to keep me in mind for your Rendlesham when it gets released. Yeah, because we'll definitely be watching for that. And I will be in touch, because we will definitely do this again.
Definitely, yeah, that'd be great. Love to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, bye. Bye.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were saying bye, Matthew, right?
Right, yeah, bye. I'll see you, Caroline. Off to bed.
Right. So thank you so much. That was a fascinating conversation that we had. And definitely check out God versus Aliens. It'll really make you think very differently about this whole God versus aliens, how religions will incorporate the disclosure once it does come to fruition. And again, I will have the links to where you can find Mark's documentaries. So be sure to support him, show him some love, and head on over and watch him. And thank you again for joining us at Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, where you can discover your truth. Today, we broadcast live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And of course, come here, Oliver. I have to end my show. Come here. And let Oliver say hello to you all. He got a nice bath the other day, and he's all handsome and groomed. And he's such a good boy. But thank you so much again for watching, and stay tuned for us every Thursday. We are live between the hours of 5 and 7. And then Fridays, we have pre-recorded shows between the hours of 3 and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, I'm in the chat, so I will be there to answer any questions. And you all have a blessed and wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye.